Hi, this lesson is on completing the square. This lesson is a precursor to understanding and learning of the quadratic formula. Well, I'm going to start off with a real easy example. X squared plus 4x minus 12. Well, if you factor it, which is the way that you know how to do it, x plus 6, x minus 2 is equal to 0. X plus 6 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. X equals negative 6, and x equals positive 2. So these are our two answers. Well, let's go a little forward on this. And we're going to do something called completing the square on this example. Let's say x squared plus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0. What I'm going to do is I will first add 12 to both sides of the equation. I have x squared plus 4x equals 12. At this point, I'm going to do something called completing the square. The first part of completing the square is taking half of this, which is half of 4 is 2. Now I'm going to square it. So I will add that value, 2 squared, on both sides of the equation. Because in algebra, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. Well, if I look at this closely, I have x plus 2 squared is equal to 12 plus 4, 16. That's the whole idea of completing the square. You're completing the square. Now what I'm going to do is take the square root on both sides of the equation. And what I have now is x plus 2 is equal plus or minus 4. After you subtract 2 on both sides, x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 4. Or should I just say x is equal to negative 2 plus 4, x is equal to negative 2 minus 4, x is equal to 2, and x is equal to negative 6. The same exact answer that we had when factoring. Why did I show this to you in this way? Because we're taking something that we know and we're going to develop something that we don't know later on. Let's do it again. Another example, but now let's make it a drop more complicated. Let's say the example was 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Well, the first thing that you know is, if you want, you can factor. And our final answer, just so we know, x is equal to negative 1/2 and x is equal to negative 2. These should be my final two answers after I work it through all the way. Now let's go through the process of completing the square. Well, 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 is equal to 0. 2x squared plus 5x is equal to negative 2. Now, in the other example, notice I had this number right here, the a to be 1. So let me make that a 1 by dividing both sides of the equation by 2. So now what I'm left with is x squared plus 5 over 2x is equal to negative 1. Now let's go through the exact same process we did last time. If I take the 5 over 2 and divide it by half, now I have 5 over 4. I square it, and that gives me 25 over 16. So I will add 25 over 16 to both sides of the equation. So if I add 5 over 4 squared to this side, I'm also going to add it to this side. And now look what I have here. X plus 5 over 4 squared is is equal, well, if I make this a common denominator, which is negative 16 over 16, so negative 16 over 16, let me just even 16 over 16 plus 25 over 16, that gives you 9 over 16. Once again, like I did last time, I will now take the square root on both sides of the equation, because whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other. And then we're going to go x plus 5 over 4 is equal to plus or minus 3 over 4. And we're going to subtract 5 over 4 on both sides of the equation. And let's look at what we're left with. X is equal to negative 5 over 4 plus and minus 3 over 4, which means x is equal to negative 5 over 4 plus 3 over 4, and x is equal to negative 5 over 4 minus 3 over 4. Well, this evidently gives you negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. This gives you negative 8 over 4, which is negative 2. And here are my two answers. Same two answers that we had before. Why don't you try to do a couple of these on your own, and then we're going to get to the quadratic formula in about 30 seconds. Okay, that will be the next video.